Thank you for joining me on the Fire Rescue Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, AZ. I find the research and resources and then provide the fire service with the so what, now what, to ensure the health and well-being of every member of our profession. Together, let's thrive. Hey there, it's AZ. It's episode 224 of the Fire Rescue Wellness Podcast. Welcome and thanks for listening. Today you're going to get to hear from two-time guest, Mike Pericht. He is a friend from Illinois. He is a recently promoted lieutenant. He's married to Morgan. They have 3 beautiful children and 2 dogs. And he is a strength and conditioning coach, former professional athlete. And so it's a great conversation. A couple of announcements before I get rolling. As you'll hear in the podcast, I am going to be switching up the format, going to once per month, at least probably for the rest of my PhD program. It's just a little bit overwhelming getting the episodes out in a timely fashion. Number 2, make sure you sign up for the Women's Tactical Human Performance Summit, online option or in person in Oklahoma City. And also we had a little bit of technical difficulty towards the end. The podcast comes to kind of an abrupt stop, but it's going to be great information for you. You're going to love it. And please give us a rating and review. Have a great day.
Go.
I love how you counted that down, Mike. It's like you've done this before. Good morning.
Good morning.
Quick question.
Yeah.
I'm great. I slept in my own bed for oh my God, it's the 2-year anniversary of my retirement.
Whoa.
I just realized that.
Congrats again.
Thanks. Okay. Anyway, I slept in my bed for the whatever night for the last 2 years, but you did not. You were on shift, weren't you?
Correct, for the last 2 nights.
You
Yeah.
tell me, tell me a little bit about your shift. Was it a good, bad, or ugly?
It was good. It was good.
Okay.
Yeah. The first night was just the second 12 overtime, and we had a couple calls that night, but that was okay. Yesterday was steady during the day, but we got to sleep at night, so it's always a beautiful thing.
That is a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I must say, even for just getting off shift, your hair is looking fabulous.
Hey, I've got a great barber. Shout out to Marlo at Blend Art in Mokina, Illinois.
All right. Such an early morning shout out. Well, I have to tell you something. I don't know if I told you this via text, but I'm changing the format of the podcast. You are probably going to be the last sort of regularly scheduled guest. When I first started it was once a week. And then I was doing it once a week with a guest and once a week solo on Fridays. And then I went back to once a week. And then about 6 months ago, I went to once every other week and then a spotlight intervening. And I do not have time. And so it's either going to be once a month or it's going to be once when I have time. What do you think about that?
Well, I think you have to do what's easiest for your schedule.
I know.
You have to have balance, and you can't spread yourself too thin. Otherwise, you're going to go crazy. It's not like you're doing other things in your life right now. So, yeah, right. Doing the podcast on your time sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah. Well, and it's not about me, though. Today is about you. And that's a really good segue to your new schedule. So I want to do this in chronological order. 3 big things have happened since the last time we spoke. And I can't remember if it was you started a degree, then you got a puppy, then you had the baby, or was it puppy, degree, baby? Which order was it?
Well, I had to go back in time and look when we last had this conversation, and it was 2023, which is way too long.
I know.
But right about that time, I was gearing up for engineer's promotional exam. Okay. And then, so we talked it was April, and I had the academy, just finished that academy, geared up for the engineer's exam, took that exam, scored well, ended up getting promoted off that exam. And then I had not yet started the degree program because I was pushing that off until after the engineer's exam. And then I rolled right into the lieutenant's exam in 2024, held off the degree program for another few months, got a puppy in February of 24. And then we had a baby in May of 25. but I started the degree program in January of 25.
What do you do in your free time, Mike?
I try to exercise, try to lift weights, run, have fun, play with my daughters. Yeah.
So, okay, I don't feel so bad for not remembering this timeline because, first of all, this whole promotional thing was very compressed. I forgot about that.
Mm-hmm.
And wait, you didn't give the punchline. Wasn't it like just a few days ago you actually got promoted?
I did, yeah. So the end of 25, actually, in December, I got promoted to lieutenant.
Oh,
So it's been quite a roller coaster the last few years since we spoke, but it's been awesome and it's panned out, and here we are.
yes. And listeners, just so you know, Mike and I also talk offline and see each other in person once in a while at conferences. So this isn't like the only conversation we've had in 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Just had to qualify that. Fair, fair, fair. Well, mostly today I want to talk to you about health and wellness, but this promotional process is very different than what I'm used to. So I was used to where I worked. This is where you work. And now I'm hearing a lot about the promotional process in Oklahoma City, where I am now, which is very different than either one of them.
Okay.
Tell me a little bit. First off, we did not have the rank of engineer. And so just tell me what that test process was like. And then there must not be a lot of needed time in engineer status before you can take the lieutenant's exam. So just give me the rundown on that.
So, yeah, we have the promoted engineer position or rank, and you have to be on the department for a minimum of 4 years before you're qualified to even take that. You have to have your FAE, and that's really it. Obviously, valid driver's license and things along those lines. To take that exam, just 4 years on, and then the other minimum qualifications. There's a written test exam and a practical exam that involves pumping scenarios, driving course, pumping calculation type of things. So
everyone's favorite pumping hydraulics math.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, take that test, and then the accumulation of your scores versus on driving and pumping and the written, and then yeah.
Okay. And then how long do you have to hold that rank before you can take the lieutenant's exam?
So in our department, you have to either be on the engineers list or promoted as an engineer to be able to be eligible for the lieutenant's exam.
Okay.
Along with qualifications of that as well.
All right. I have one more question about promotional stuff. So are you ever able to drive before you are promoted to engineer?
In practice.
Just practice. Okay. So you're not going to be a driver ever if you're not promoted to engineer. Okay. Mm-hmm. Cool. It's so different every place you go. So I like to hear about all of that. I'm still kind of trying to get my head wrapped around it, but you're a firefighter, I believe. I'm going to mess this up and Major Smith is going to admonish me, but I'm going to try really hard. You're a firefighter, I believe, for 3 years. And then I think automatically you become a corporal. So that would be kind of like our firefighter first class, but I don't think there's an exam or anything. I think that's just a time. And then you can test for sergeant. That is a testing process. And then I believe there's another test for lieutenant, which is actually the driver position. And they're very, very competitive. Like this many, a stack. My fingers, guys, are like 12 inches apart. It might be bigger, of books and regs. And this is super competitive. So once you are a lieutenant, there is another test, which is captain. And captain is a company officer. And then I believe once again, it's kind of like once your number comes up, you get to be a major, which from what I understand is more like a station officer. So a captain might be at a 2 rig house. A captain might be on 1 rig and the major's on the other rig, but the major's in charge of the house. And then there's no more tests unless you want to become to the chief level, but they are all so competitive. Just incredible amount of studying and material and late nights, and it's wacky.
Yeah, that sounds intense.
Yeah, my Oklahoma City firefighters, if I mess that up, please let me know, but I think I got it at least pretty close.
How many members do they have?
1,100 sworn.
Mm-hmm.
And then I believe PD, if I'm not mistaken, is 2000 or a little bit higher. I'm not doing much on the PD side. I do some lectures once in a while, but yeah, it's a big department. And then also square mileage is incredibly big. I think it's 600 square miles.
Wow.
It's wild. I was out with the athletic trainer. We were driving. We were actually going down to Cleat, which is a law enforcement academy about a couple hours away from where we are. And we had been driving for like a half hour, probably longer. And he goes, "Oh, there's one of our stations." I was like, "What?" It's so big.
Hmm.
But yeah, I always love to hear how everything is different at different departments. I did get to meet the dog. I know people are just dying to know that. I did get to meet the dog before I moved. I did not get to meet the baby. So I will comment that meme. I would like to see the baby. Okay. I think we're all caught up now, except I want you to talk a little about your school before we go on to the big meaty thing. Where are you going to school?
The University of Florida online.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. The
Uh,
applied.
Knowles?
No, Gators.
I don't know.
Gators.
Gators. Sorry.
Yes, not the Seminoles.
Is this one?
That's the Chomp. Yep.
Okay. The Chomp. Okay, got it. Sorry.
It's okay.
And what does that program look like?
So it's the Applied Physiology and Kinesiology program. There's 30 credits involved. I am a little over halfway through, so I got 15 credits earned, and I'm in my 6th class right now. So moving along. Yeah, I was able to take a couple semesters worth of 2 classes in the past year, and that's like the max that I can do, I found out. So with everything else going on, I can't do any more than 2 classes, and that stretches me as about as thin as I can get. So yeah, currently enrolled in 1, and then probably most likely just going to stick with 1 for the remaining time. I don't know. I might get crazy and try to squeeze 2 in again just to speed things along, but we will see. We will see.
Do you have to do a research project, or do you have to write just sort of like a review? What do you have to do to graduate?
So to graduate, I have to do a comprehensive exam with 6. I get to pick 6 classes from the foundations, the 6 foundations, so 1 from each. So yeah, it's like a 2-day exam, like 60 questions from each of the foundations. So that'll be.
Oh my God,
that'll be
your
my last
comps sound
semester.
worse than mine. Yours sound way worse than mine. I have to take mine. I haven't put a date on the schedule yet. Dawes it's like, when you're gonna do it? I'm like, I'm working on it.
Yeah.
I
don't
and
get
then
to pick my day though, so at least he's letting you pick your day.
oh yeah, Dawes is laid back. And then what are you gonna do? Do you have any idea what you're gonna do after that? Are you gonna do a PhD?
That's funny you asked that. I've looked into a couple programs. I just don't know if that's realistic at this point in time. I mean, I would love to continue education. It's just a matter of what my life is going to look like in a few years' time. Because I 100% plan on my kids being involved in their activities and being a part of that and being there for them. So for me to continue with the PhD program, that's obviously more time dedicated to school. That's tuition. There's a lot more to that than just, pursuing the degree. If,
May I recommend you wait until retirement?
that's absolutely a possibility. Yeah.
And then you can move to Oklahoma. You, Morgan, the dogs, and whatever kids are left in the house.
I don't know if you're going to be in Oklahoma. You're probably.
Well, I'll either be here or I'll be dead because I am not packing up my crap and moving again.
I don't think you're.
And feasibly, I could be dead because it'll be 20 years you have left?
I've got a little bit of time. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I might be dead. Maybe you want to buy my house.
No.
Okay. Here's what I really want to dig in today, because last time we spoke, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, were you getting set to, was that one of your first academies you were getting set to be doing fitness with, or had you done it before?
I had done a couple of years of them at that time. So I think 2023 was my 3rd academy that we had just completed at that point. So I'm in my 6th one right now.
Ooh, all right. I want to hear all of the things. I'm just going to let you talk. The metamorphosis of how it started. Maybe you can even remind us what it was like before you started, how you changed it. I'm just going to hit the big mute button and you get to talk.
So yeah, so when I got hired, we were doing 5 days a week of academy. We were doing 10 weeks, 5 with EMS, with fire, and we did intense PT all 10 weeks. We had a contracted civilian strength conditioning coach that we went to his facility and trained with over there. And the training was scheduled. It was well programmed. It was just intense, and it accumulated over the course of those 10 weeks. And we found a lot of, you know, overuse injuries starting to occur, a lot of fatigue setting in, poor recovery methods were taking place. So like guys were just starting to break down towards the end of it, especially when we were doing intense PT in the morning and then going out on the fire ground and training and being out there all day long, evolution after evolution. We were just physically getting broken. Again, not a lot of time to recover when you have PT in the morning and then you've got another 6 hours of fire ground training. And then by the time you clean up, go home, eat some dinner, study, the material that you've been, you know, tested on and everything, or are expected to be tested on, wake up and do it again the next day. Like there's just not enough time to recover in that with that scheduling. So we kind of took a collective look at things and adjusted from a 5-day schedule to a 4-day schedule. And currently they go Monday through Thursday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. We do roughly 2 hours of PT in the morning. So they'll show up. We have a different facility that we go to now. And they'll show up at 7:30. We'll train from 7:30 to 9:30. They'll go back to the tower, get prepared for their classroom stuff, and they'll go about their day that way. We adjusted from the intense PT on the fire side to more of a low intensity movement preparation type of PT prior to them going out on the fire ground when they hit the fire academy. And the reason we do that is so they're not getting those overuse injuries. They're not pushing their limits, draining their energy, and then experiencing those fatigue type of injuries later on, throughout the course of the academy. So we try to use that more of like almost like an active recovery session, but just more of a preparation into what they're going to be doing daily out on the fire ground versus, the beating them into the ground, so to speak, type of training.
Did you get any pushback from incumbents? Like we had to do 5 days a week for a really hard PT for 10 weeks, so they should as well, or admin or did you get any pushback on that?
No. I mean, the guys that I went through the academy with, and then even the class after me, because I didn't train the class after me. It was the class after that. We all kind of looked at it like, oh, we did 5 days. What's the big deal? We've looked at the 4-day schedule, and like there's some nuances to it that kind of benefit. Well, it does. It benefits those guys immensely, but it wasn't like like that old, oh well, this is how we had to do it type of thing. They should have to do it too. I wouldn't say that's the attitude around it at all. It's just this is the way that it is, and this is what's changed, and this is how we've approached it.
And then I have another question about the scheduling. I'm sorry if I interrupted your train of thought. It's my ADHD brain. Did you consider potentially doing Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and having that break in the middle? And if you considered it, why did you discard that idea?
We did consider it, especially after you and I spoke on that. I brought it up, and at the time that I brought it up, it just was too close to go time to change it in the schedule. So I'll probably revisit that again, but I don't have that decision making power. So that's up to our training officer to change that schedule.
Okay. And then what was the punchline? Did it help with the injuries? Did it help with the fatigue?
Yeah. We've seen significantly reduced fatigue related issues, even in over the course of like the 5 weeks that I have them for the intense training. There's minimal injuries, if any. I mean, you'll see some soreness, you'll see some cramping, that alarm phase of the programming. It is It's called that for a reason, right? Because those candidates are like, what is going on here in week two? But even at the end of week two, which was last week, they were feeling much better, and I know this coming week that they're ready to take off. So yeah, as far as the goal of reducing injuries and reducing, like I said, the fatigue and overuse injuries, yeah, it's worked immensely.
And you are one of the few departments that has their own academy anymore. How many people are you getting, and how are you keeping that sustainable on a financial sort of basis? I guess maybe that's above your pay grade, but can you speculate on that?
So keep in mind, ours is only in house. So where like Romeoville is more of a BOF academy,
Mhm.
um, along with some other departments that still run the BOF, like I think Posen. There's a couple others, but yeah, ours is all in house, so it's all new hires, and we only run it when we're hiring, and that's just been an agreement that our training staff and our administration have coordinated over the course of last couple of decades. Um, and so we've been on a hiring stretch ever since 2014. There's been an academy, I believe. I mean, I believe that was it. I think there was a 2012, and then there was a gap, and then there was 2014, and then the last 12 years we've had at least one group of hirees. So um, that financially, that's worked out between administration and the board of trustees and our overall budget.
Okay. And then how many are in your current academy, and tell me what a typical training session, I know that's kind of a hard question, but give me an example of a one-day training session for this crew.
Well, this is the lowest that I've had, and we started with 6, now we have 5.
Oh, that's really small.
It's
I
very
like that.
small. So it's very personal also. So we have a lot of one-on-one. It's easy to coach, but a typical day they'll come in. I let them do a few minutes of just free foam rolling, kind of get themselves put together and get their stuff situated. And then I've got a structured warm-up plan. I mean, it's a head to toe warm-up plan. I call it so I simulate it to the development of a baby. I always ask them, hey, what's the first thing that a baby learns to do? And they always say crawl. I say wrong. Baby has to
Roll.
no. Baby has to
Oh, pick up the head. Yeah.
pick its head up first, right? And so we start with cat cows and just manipulation of the spine, and we'll go joint by joint. Do a lot of stationary things at first before we get into slow dynamic walking type of movements, and then we go from you know walking to running. So it's a whole progression of a warm up. From the warm up, we do a little bit more of a structured movement prep. Just more like a circuit of exercises that are going to be with the joints and the muscles that are going to be utilized for that day's strength programming. So, for example, we might do like a circuit of lunges and hand release push-ups and a core mobility, or some structured burpees, things along those lines, some body weight movements that we can get activated, get the muscles primed, and then once we're completed with that, then we'll go into our strength phase of the workout. um, so with 4 days a week, I've got it divided into a lower body specific day. There's an upper body specific day. We have one day where there's high intensity circuit training. And then there's another day that this is new, where it's more of like a full body focused, more or less just another type of well, low intensity kettlebell body weight type of structure. That's one of the days of the week that I cannot be there because I'm still on shift. So it's just kind of I'll give a workout plan, but it's up to the instructor who's putting it on to actually execute that. So, but it's supposed to be more of a overall whole body type of low intensity day.
Are you still utilizing TSAC facilitators to teach at the academy?
There's been a little bit of a change just with who's involved at this point. We still have TSAC facilitators within the department, but with other promotions and other responsibilities and things like that, we don't have all of the ones on hand that we've had in the past couple of years. But there's been some new firefighters and personnel who are interested in helping out. So we still have a couple of them, but there's been, like I said, some new additions who are helping us as well that don't necessarily have the certifications at this time.
So I always like to press pause here in the conversation because this is a real challenge of people within the fire service getting a certification because inevitably they do get promoted. Like one of your guys is a battalion chief now. Probably doesn't have a lot of time to be messing around with group training at stations, right? It's just not going to happen. And so your agency did a really good job of putting money aside for the certification, putting money aside yearly for the continuing education. But there's always that challenge of it's not even attrition, it's like elevation. So, do you have kind of anything in mind of how you're going to handle that or just let it ride for now?
We've had some discussions about how we want to continue. I've had people interested in taking the certification exam. It's just a matter of how we're going to fund it. We have a new administration and a new board who's responsible for all the finances and the spending of the budget and things like that. So we had a new fire chief come in. Our previous fire chief retired. We had a new fire chief get hired, and we're also now currently without a fire chief. So there's a whole
No adult supervision.
Yeah, there's a whole change up on the board that has occurred since we initiated the TSAC program and everything like that. So at this point, there's really not a solid plan in place, but with the guys who've been interested, I've discussed, hey, can we take the exam on our own? We'll talk about getting refunded in the future. Do you want it to be completely funded by the district before you try taking it? I've run the idea of trying to host another course like we had back in 2021. So, I mean, there's been ideas in play, but it's just a matter of, getting a solid plan put together and something that's going to be supported once we get those certifications completed.
It is an ongoing expense, that's for sure. Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
The suggestion was made to me, not an original idea. Get it in your strategic plan. Because are you accredited?
We are, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Next time you guys come around for renewal, see if you can get that in your strategic plan. And then the other thing would be like, I doubt that like the FEMA AFG would fund something like this, but there's got to be a grant out there somewhere to get you guys rolling again. So let's look for it.
Yeah, we can definitely look for it. Again, it's just a matter of how we're going to incorporate it into our organization and how it's going to go around on a day-to-day basis.
So the lesson is here when regimes change, priorities change. And so even if you have something that seems just rock solid set up, it's subject to change. And it's kind of frustrating, but you guys are working through it.
Yep.
So you gave an example of a training day. What type of education are you giving these recruits as well?
So prior to the start of the academy, I take them through about an hour's worth of lecture on here's what your day is going to look like. Here's what you can expect. Here's a timeline from wake up to going to bed. We talk about how they can properly fuel with appropriate nutrition and dietary intake. We talk about recovery measures. We talk about some supplements that are proven and beneficial. So I give them every tool that they can to get themselves in a position where they are not only progressing in terms of their strength and their fitness, but also how are they going to be recovering well? How are they going to be handling the stress of the academy? How are they going to optimize their sleep? All those things. So I give them basically a very fast breakdown, like I said, of fitness and nutrition and recovery and how they can utilize that to benefit themselves now and then throughout the rest of their career. So I also tell them like this is not physical training program, fitness program where we are trying to break you down and make you quit. This is setting you up with healthy habits for the rest of your career. I I would prefer that you establish these habits now and utilize them over the next 20, 25, 30 years and have a healthy life and a healthy retirement than give you bad habits or have you continue with bad habits to where you're going to see injury and you're physically not going to be able to do this job, or maybe you'll be, I don't know, broken down physically, mentally. So I try to give them all the tools that they can to be the most well-rounded, healthy firefighter, not only firefighter, but person that they can be.
Do they listen for the most part? Question one. Question two, is there anything that you have said you don't allow in the academy? Like some academies are like absolutely no on the energy drinks or whatever. So do they listen?
I feel like they listen.
I love that.
I mean,
And then
they sit there, they're quiet, they eyes are open, and no one's falling asleep on that day. So I'm
wait,
assuming they're listening.
are they hearing or listening? This
Right.
is always the question. And then do you have any rules and regs such as energy drinks or anything else?
I don't, because I can't control that. Right. I give them information on it. I give them information on, you know, some caffeine. I give them information on alcohol. But again, at the end of the day, we're adults. I'm not holding your hand for the next 22 hours. That's on you. Those are the decisions that you have to make. If you want to, you know, indulge and have, a drink or whatever, like that's on you. But it's going to affect you come the next day or come the next week or come the next month. So it's ultimately it's their career, not mine. They're the ones trying to make it. If they make it or not, that's honestly, it's no skin off my, off my bones. But
You've already got the job.
we're
You're
here.
just trying to
We're
help.
here. They're the ones who are trying to make it. They're the ones who have everything in front of them. It's theirs to lose. So,
okay, so you gave us a really good synopsis of the education in the academy, which I think is fantastic. You're setting them up for success. Is there any education that you're doing within the incumbent personnel?
So we've done a couple of trainings over the last couple of years where we've discussed proper hydration as well, fireground hydration, daily hydration, and some approaches that we can take, obviously utilizing some electrolytes, some of the dangers that are associated with hyperthermia and dehydration, and how it can affect us, how it can affect our performance on the fireground, what it can do to us post fire incident, and how we can start recovering in those immediate minutes and hours after, after a fireground operation. So we had a training on that a couple years ago. Since then, we've implemented funding for distributing of electrolyte packets throughout the firehouse. So those are given out, and those can be found in every station. So we did liquid IVs for a while because they were cheap and they were at Costco and they could just be grabbed, by one of our day lieutenants and whatnot. But we've since moved over to Redmond Relight and their electrolyte packets. So yeah, they're on all fire rigs and in the firehouse and used by the guys to stay well hydrated on a day-to-day basis.
You stumped me. I've never heard of that one.
No, it's a good one. It is a good one. So you can go to, I think it's redmond.life is their website.
Okay.
But it has most likely from what I've seen, from the ones that I've researched, it's got the best complement of electrolytes in it. So most of them only have a little bit of sodium, maybe a little bit of potassium. This one has sodium, potassium, magnesium, calcium, and I believe there's some chloride in there as well. But it's got most of your major electrolyte sources.
Is it a glucose one or no sugar?
I think no sugar.
Okay, I'll have to look it up.
I gotta look it up again though.
All right, we're learning. Okay, so, and I'm assuming that's been well received because people feel better when they're well hydrated. They don't realize how much of a challenge that is to even their brain fog, their performance, their sleep. It's all tied up together. Okay, I love that. Any other educational movements on the incumbent side?
Well, we're doing I'm calling it a kinetic awareness lecture in a couple weeks, where we're
Tell me
talking about
more.
common fireground injuries and location, but even just like a little bit of, like a anatomy 101 type of thing, right? Like we're going to talk about the muscles of the rotator cuff and the shoulder, and what are the prime movers, and why might you experience a shoulder injury, maybe due to underactive rotator cuff muscles. Or we're going to go toward, talk about the muscles of the back, and we're not just talking about the erector spinae. We're going to talk about the deeper muscles. We're going to talk about the intervertebrals, and we're going to talk about um, everything that's moving from the sacrum up to the cervical spine and the skull. And then we'll talk about the knee and why the knee is affected. And it's not maybe just the internal structures of the knee or the internal ligaments. Maybe it's maybe it's your glute is overactive. Maybe your TFL is overactive and it's causing that lateral knee pain. Or maybe it's you got a hamstring tightness and it's causing some of your medial knee pain. I don't know, but it's just giving them some things to think about, and how to approach your daily training, how to approach your mobility, and why you might be feeling some of these nagging issues, over the course of your day to day, and how, let's attack it with some movements and some exercises that are going to be more geared towards helping strengthen the area, right? Rather than avoiding it or even just stretching it. That's a lecture I've got planned for a couple weeks.
I love it. And I always say the knee, it can't help it. It's the dumbest joint in the human body.
I love that one. Yeah, I love that analogy. I used that the other day.
And the thing is too, that it's always good to have a reminder, because pain freaks people out. It freaks me out. But it's always great to have that reminder, like just because it hurts doesn't necessarily mean there's damage to the area. It's more than likely something else. So relax. I mean, if you fall off a ladder and you've got a bone fragment sticking out of your leg, yeah, you got damage. But you wake up in the morning and you didn't do anything and you feel like my neck, my back, my thigh, whatever, it's probably not a big deal and we can work through it. Oh my gosh, that was a tangent. All right. Well, I know that it's your Sunday, you were gone for 48 hours, your beautiful family is upstairs. I want to be respectful of your time. What else, if anything, should we talk about before we sign off and I package this up and send it to Jeremiah?
Let's see. So, as somebody who is considering, I'm going to quiz you now.
I love it.
Somebody who would be considering future education, tell me about your experience and tell me about what is, what's on your plate. What's your day to day? What is your overall end goal here?
Oh my gosh, that's a really good question. So, first, full disclosure, I do not need a PhD because I was already doing I had a master's degree. I was already collaborating on research. I was already doing cool stuff, but I really want it, kind of like you want a new pair of shoes, a new pair of Jordans or whatever. You don't need them, you want them. My hope is that eventually I can be one of those people that when policy is being considered, when NFPA is making a consideration on something regarding health and wellness, when IAFF is making a consideration with health and wellness, when an agency is making a consideration, hopefully my name is one that pops up with like, hey, we should talk to this lady. So that's kind of the reason I'm trying to get the PhD. My day to day, I have the coolest day to day because last year I taught motor control and my life was so stressful because I am not a motor control expert by any means. I was like trying to stay 5 steps ahead of the students all year. And I cried. I did a lot of crying last year. And so this year, around this time, actually, probably a little bit earlier, I said to Dr. Dawes, hey, what would it look like for an agency for me to be embedded? Like, could that be my grad assistantship? And he's like, well, yeah, but you got to find the agency. You got to get it set up. So I knocked on only one door and the city was receptive to the idea. It took us almost 4 months to work out the details, but now my grad assistantship is with Oklahoma City Fire Department. And so on a day-to-day basis, I go to either the academy, they don't have one running right now, I go to the academy, or I go down to our wellness office and we go out, we see firefighters. By we, I mean athletic trainer and I. We go out, we see firefighters. We just instituted, I almost said instigated. Well, we did that too. We just instituted Bridge Athletic as an app. And so it's available for the firefighters either at their firehouse on a tablet or they can request an individual account. So that's amazing. We are working on, we're getting Beaver Fit Connex boxes down at the academy next fall, at least one, maybe two. And so I'm currently building out, because I don't know if you've ever taught on a Beaver Fit box, but it is a little bit, you have to be real organized because we'll have 5 squat racks around a Connex and I'll have probably 50 people. And so you have to set it up in lanes and alleys and so on and so forth. So I'm working on that. And then we're working on safety stand down. So I have basically my dream job. I get to go and help firefighters as my grad assistantship, and I don't have to teach motor control anymore. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, that is awesome. That is
yeah,
awesome.
It's amazing.
I like your transparency on saying like you don't need the PhD, but you want it.
Yeah.
So I think that's huge. Like I kind of feel at this point in time like that's something that's sticking in my brain too. But like even with this master's degree, this is something like I've wanted, right? Like I've wanted to pursue it, and similar to you, like if I've got my mind set on something, like I'm going for that, which has essentially been, my life in a nutshell. Is like if I have thought about something, like I'm gonna go and obtain that, so well, that's cool, to be going for something that you want to go after, and doing it for you, and your desire and your want to help others and your wanting to progress the fire service. That's fantastic.
Well, and I think that research sometimes misses the mark because they don't collaborate with fire. And so they come up with a research question they've already got in their mind, and then they try to find an agency to do the research on. And I think the key is they have to collaborate with the firefighters first to find out what questions are really important. And although you and I could collaborate on research if you did not have your master's, I do think it's helpful because then you or whatever firefighter with the advanced degree has some knowledge of the scientific method and how formulating research actually works. And I think it's super helpful. So I think it's a win-win for you. So ladies and gentlemen, it seems as though we have permanently lost Mike in the basement, but I want to let you know that, again, the podcast is going to be going to probably once per month. And I'll still be around. You can email me if you have podcast ideas or questions or anything you'd love to have addressed. Give me an email and I will try to get the appropriate guest on the podcast. And I think with that, I'm going to drop the mic by myself. And you have a wonderful day. AZ is out.